What is a patent? How do you file for a patent? Who should file a patent? Well, on today's show, the head of the U.S. Southwest Patent Office, Hope Shimabuku, answers all of these questions while also sharing why 60% of America's new jobs are being created in the great state of Texas. All this and more on this edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, we have the pleasure of interviewing the first ever head of the woman in charge of opening the first ever patent office in the Southwest. Miss Hope, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you?
Good. Thanks, Clay, and I am super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I got to ask you, how did you get put in charge of heading up the first ever patent office in the Southwest United States?
Well, that's a really good question. So our office was actually opened in November of 2015, and it was one of 4 regional offices across the country. And so when they were looking to put an office in the Dallas area, I became very interested in this particular role. And so I applied and got accepted, and so here I am.
So what's your title? Are you the head honcho, the grand poobah? What's your official title?
So my official title is the regional director for the Texas Regional USPTO.
Wow. Okay. Now, did you always want to do this growing up, or what led to your interest in patents?
Well, actually, this is a completely new role. So when I was growing up, or even a few years ago, I had no idea that I was even going to be working for the federal government at all. But I was always interested in technology, and I was a patent attorney and working for various companies before joining the USPTO. So this was a fantastic opportunity. It is a great place to be for the USPTO, and just super excited to be part of what I call a startup in a 230-year-old organization.
That is awesome. I'm not going to try to paint you into the corner by asking you for hard stats, okay? So I'm just wanting to get your finger on the pulse here. You're in the office every day. You see these patents coming in. From what I hear, again, I don't live in Dallas. I live in Tulsa. But I hear that the Dallas economy is just absolutely rocking. If you had to describe how the growth of the Dallas, Texas area, how good is that economy doing?
The economy is actually doing fantastic. And so we know that there's actually a huge tie between technology and intellectual property.
Yeah.
And so there is a symbiotic relationship. When technology is doing well, then intellectual property and the economy is also doing very, very well as well. And so when we're looking at Dallas, and I know that there's huge growth in the Tulsa area as well,
Yeah.
we are seeing lots and lots of growth. We have lots of companies moving in. In addition to that, there's all the supporting companies and supporting service providers that are associated with that as well. So the economy is doing great.
Which economy are you seeing more patents out of? Which area? Are you seeing more patents out of Austin? Or are you seeing more out of Dallas? What's the region where you're seeing the most patent activity right now?
So that's a really great question. So Texans actually receive the second most number of patents out of any other state in the country. And so when you're looking at the three big metroplexes in Texas, Houston, Dallas, and Austin, that is where the lion's share of the patents in Texas are coming out of. If you look at a year-by-year basis, actually, each of those cities are only about 100 patents apart as far as patents received in those three metroplex areas.
Now, tell me, how is the economy of Texas doing in comparison to the rest of the United States? Is it growing dramatically faster than the rest of the country at about the same pace? Just kind of educate our listeners, because we have listeners from all over this great country, all over the world, in fact, listening to our show.
So I don't actually have the stats
Yeah, sure.
that are in front of me right now.
And I'm sorry to paint you in a corner.
I had heard rumors that there are about 1,000 families moving in per week into the state of Texas. In addition to that, I had heard recently that almost 65% of the job growth, or jobs, in fact, are in Texas right now.
See, I've heard that. I've heard that 65% of the jobs being created in these great United States are being created right there in the beautiful state of Texas. I mean, and whether it's half the jobs or 65%, it turns out Texas is only one state, and that's impressive. That's impressive. What do you attribute that growth to?
I think there are a couple of things that are associated with that. One is that there's a lot of tax incentives for companies to come and move their businesses to Texas right now.
Yeah.
But in addition to that is we don't have any state income tax, and the cost of living is significantly lower than some of the other states in the country. And so combined with that and the job growth and companies moving in, I think it really makes a great place for people to move. In addition to that, not only the actual people who are working for those specific companies, because there's job growth, if they are married, their spouse is able to find something here as well easily.
Now, Hope, you have an impressive resume, and you don't need me to tell you, but I just want to share with the listeners here. You worked at Xerox, you've worked at Procter & Gamble, Dell Computer. What kind of work did you do at Xerox? Were you the lord of the photocopier? What were you doing at Xerox?
No, actually, at Xerox, I was what they call in-house counsel. So I was a lawyer, an intellectual property lawyer, in charge of all the intellectual property that was associated with their services side of the business. So Xerox actually had two sides. One was their copier side, which is the hardware side, and the other side was their services side. And so they provided a lot of different support for companies in the background. So they were customer service support. They were also, sometimes if you were doing moving companies, they were the ones that organized all of those moves. There were a number of different IT companies that they owned and were supporting different companies as a contractor for that. So for the services side, I was pretty much in charge of all their intellectual property that was associated with that side of the business.
Now, at Xerox, Steve Jobs famously stole the mouse from Xerox. How often do they talk about that at Xerox? Was that kind of an inside joke there that people talked about a lot? Did people give Apple a hard time there for Steve coming in there and stealing the mouse?
No, they didn't really give him a hard time. It was actually a point of pride for Xerox because the Palo Alto Research Center, which is out of California, was really a place in which there was a lot of technology that was developed there. A lot of the technology were things that were not core to the business for Xerox. And so for things like the Apple computer system that was developed and famously taken over by Steve Jobs, those were things that we were very proud of, that we created, or that Xerox created. I'm no longer with Xerox, excuse me. And they were able to transfer out of the company, but be able to support the economy and support technology out of that.
Okay. So they're not an enemy of Steve Jobs over there at Xerox.
No, they are not.
Okay. Now I want to ask you this. You did work with Procter & Gamble. What work did you do there?
So for Procter & Gamble, that was a job that I had before I became an attorney. And so I worked for Procter & Gamble as a manager, and my job was to help manage the facility and the Sunny Delight and the Hawaiian Punch operations. And so I was out there doing the day-to-day quality management, making sure that every bottle of juice that went out the door was a good bottle of juice.
Well, okay. A Sunny Delight. And I as a young kid, I drank too much Sunny Delight. I drank too much of it, I tell you. That's why I am the way I am. I drank too much. They said, we recommend this many servings. I probably had, 10 times the recommended amount. I was running around looking at orange all the time. So much, that was a great beverage. Are you a big fan of Sunny Delight?
Not anymore.
Oh.
The number one customer for Sunny D is an 8-year-old child. So I did enjoy it when I was younger.
Okay, I respect that. Now, what kind of work did you do at Dell?
So at Dell, I was a project manager for the mechanical engineering group. And so at the time when I was at Dell, they were transitioning the computers from the white covers to the black covers. And so that was a huge change for Dell. And so I was in the middle of that mix in launching new products that were associated with those particular colors.
Okay, now that we know that you are definitely the real deal, they don't just give out that title as head of the U.S. Southwest Patent Office to anybody. Now that we know your background, let's talk about patents. How do you file a patent? Why do you file a patent? And who should be filing a patent?
Those are fantastic questions. So when you're looking at patents, the number one consideration that you really want to look at is what technology or what invention have you created that you want to protect. And so for those who are in the technology business that have come up with a brand new idea that is a widget or a process to create that widget or manufacture that widget, those are things that you want to protect and make sure that no one else is using those inventions without your permission. So from a patenting standpoint, when you're looking at your business model and your business strategy, what we like to say is that patents or intellectual property is a business strategy in and of itself. And so it is an investment. It tends to be expensive up front, but long term, it is something that you want to keep and get a pulse on so that you are protecting what you've come up with.
Now, how much money does it cost? I mean, where do the costs come from? Are you making just huge commission checks over there at the federal government? Rumor has it you guys don't make huge commission checks. Where's the money going?
So our office is what we call fee-based. We are charging applicants the same amount of money that it would cost us to be able to process that particular application. So we are not a money-making machine for the federal government. We are the government. And so from a cost standpoint, there are two costs that you have to look at. One is the cost of how much it costs to file your application with our office. And then the second cost is attorney's costs. So attorneys' costs tend to be the most expensive costs because they are the ones that are actually preparing the application so that it can be reviewed by my office. And so when you're looking at a company that has, depending on the size of the company, will also determine the amount of fees that they actually have to pay. So those are the two buckets that we're looking at. So if you look for a plain vanilla application and you're only looking for the costs that are associated with my office, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
Yeah, just give it to me. Here we go.
You're probably looking at about, I would say, $1,000 or a little bit more than that. And so there are a lot of factors, though, that go into that, and that is for large entities. But for the filing fees, you get a 50% reduction if you're a small company, and then if you are a micro entity, which means that you are a small company, you fall below a certain income threshold, and you don't have more than 5 applications which you are listed as an inventor, you get a 75% reduction on those initial filing fees.
Okay, so what I want to do here is I would like to ask you a tough question, a question that I have not prepared you for. Feel free to just hang up, and that's how I'll know if you like the question or not. Tell me about the patent for the flux capacitor, and how close are you to being able to make time travel possible over there at the patent office?
That is a really good question. I would like to know that answer too.
Someone's got to file that thing. I mean, come on, that movie was great. It's got. I mean, do you believe in time travel? Is that possible?
I think that it is something that we will probably be seeing, if not in our lifetime, in the next lifetime for sure. My daughter, actually, she is determined to make a time travel machine. And so that is her goal when she gets older to do that.
Now, the thing is, I know you can't share the secrets of any business. That's the whole point of filing a patent and the protect ideas. But is there any patent that you've seen come through that is just amazing where you go, wow, that's now public knowledge. It's been filed. No one else can copy it. I mean, is there anything you've seen where you go, wow, that is hot?
Well, I used to be a patent attorney before coming to the PTO, and so those are the patents that I am primarily thinking about. So one of the patents that I think about is if you think about Waze technology right now, in which all the cell phones are able to communicate to each other and determine whether there's traffic on the road or anything else that would prevent you from traveling faster to your final destination. And so I remember drafting that particular patent application, and when the first time I looked at that, I was like, well, who's going to use this? You know, it's something that I could not fathom that someone would be able to use. But today, I use it every day to get to work.
You do?
In which the cell phones are talking to each other. And so it is amazing, some of the technology that is out there. I hear stories about people who actually processed, or the examiners that actually reviewed the first patents coming through when the Internet was still being developed in the World Wide Web. And they didn't know what it was, but they were looking at it and they said, wow, that is really cool that is coming out.
Is it true that Al Gore did in fact file the patent for the Internet? No.
Well, I didn't see Al Gore's name come through on that, so I don't think it was on there. Mythbusters.
Okay, so you grew up in Houston, right? I think you grew up in Houston. What was your childhood like?
So my childhood, I actually had a very special childhood. I grew up in the NASA Johnson Space Center area, and so when I was growing up, I grew up with all the astronauts' kids and everyone that worked for NASA. In fact, my mom was a computer programmer for NASA at the time, and she also was working on the Apollo mission programs. And so for my family and for me, I was used to being around the astronauts. I actually thought that every school in the area had an astronaut coming to visit them every month. And so it was a very unique experience. One of my fondest memories was going outside to the back of my school, and as the space shuttle was returning from California to Florida, it would do what was called a salute to mission control. And so it would be at my school district, and it would be circling around our school district. And I remember standing outside waving at the space shuttle at that time.
Yeah, that is so cool. You seem like you know a lot about the space program. You know, we've had Jim Bridenstine, the head of NASA, on the show, and I would like to ask you the same kind of tough questions I would ask Jim there. What's your thoughts on space ice cream? Do you like it?
You know what? I've never had it.
Get out of here! No way! Listen here. You can't be one of the people that made Sunny Delight an incredible beverage that swept the nation that I lived on as a kid. You can't be serving up that kind of great food to America and not be devouring great food yourself. You owe it to yourself today to go online and order yourself some space ice cream. You have to do it.
I need to do that. Yeah, I'm on it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like you get it and it's dry and dehydrated. It's in some have you ever seen it? Have you ever touched it? Have you ever been around it?
I've seen it, and I've actually touched it. It kind of feels, I don't know, feels slimy.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but somehow it's good. but it doesn't feel good. And I every time I go to those gift shops where they sell it, I'm always like, nah, I shouldn't do it. I have 5 kids, okay, so I'll go. Well, we'll just get 2 for the kids, just. And like, Dad,
there you go, and everyone can share and take a bite.
Yeah, and I'll share the first bag and a half of it. You guys, I'm just telling you, you need to do that. I'm just encouraging you to take your life to the next level there, Hope. I hope you go out there and get yourself some space ice cream. Now, when did you figure out what you wanted to do professionally? When did you decide, okay, I now want to go work for Dell? Okay, I want to work for Procter & Gamble. Okay, I want to. When did you find traction with your career?
So I think that I figured out I wanted to be an engineer in high school. I was always good at math. I really enjoyed science and especially physics. And so I think that seeing the astronauts, the technology that was coming out of NASA, and just being around that all the time, it really influenced my decision to become an engineer. And then when I was in engineering school, it was just fantastic to see the different people, the support that I received to be able to become and graduate as an engineer, and then seeing all the technology that continues to be out there and to be developed really inspires me and continues to inspire me today.
Can you play an instrument?
I can.
What musical instruments can you play?
I can play the piano and violin.
Okay, I'm going to play Name That Tune right now just to test your mechanical mind. I'm going to play I'm going to play an instrument right now, and I want you to see if you can guess what this instrument is. If you get it right, you win mega points, and I will see to it that I will ship you some space ice cream. If you get it wrong, there's nothing bad that happens, but you don't get the space ice cream, which I know you're passionate about. Okay,
but I only have to guess the instrument.
The instrument, right. Here we go. I'm going to cue it up. Okay. Tell me if you can get the instrument. Here we go. I'm queuing it up here. Oh, what is it?
Wow. I was going to say an electric guitar, but I don't think that's right.
No, let me give you a little more. I think it's right on the tip of your tongue there. Folks, you don't get to be the head of the U.S. Patent Office, the Southwest Division, without being good at Name That Tune, okay? She's just trying to make it seem like she doesn't know. Here we go. What do you think?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Oh, it's a didgeridoo. A didgeridoo.
Oh, a didgeridoo. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
The thing is,
I'll know.
My daughter's really smart now. I have a 14-year-old daughter. She's starting to get smart. And so I'm playing this downstairs in the man cave when I'm working on some paperwork. And just queuing it up there. And for some reason, it helps me focus. I'm just, I'm just thinking about paperwork and checklists and workflow. And then my daughter's like, Dad, what is that? And I said, it's the didgeridoo. It's an incredible instrument that they play in Africa. And she says, how do you know if someone's good at it? And I'm like, that's a good point.
How do you know?
Because it all sounds the same every time. So anyway, little did you know trivia for you. Now, a final couple questions I have for you. What advice would you give to the entrepreneurs out there listening as it relates to patents?
So my advice is to look at everything that you have. I mean, your patent doesn't have to be a newfangled device. It doesn't have to be the next iPhone. It doesn't have to be the next new breakthrough in the World Wide Web. Everyone has technology, processes, and different things that they would like to go ahead and make sure that other people don't steal. And so evaluate everything, look at your intellectual property and the things that you own, and make sure that you consider that as part of the assets that you want to own at the end of the day. Because patents are intangible assets. You can use them to make sure people don't steal them or steal your ideas, or you can use them on the defensive, in which if you are getting sued, then you can also say, hey, I have this patent and you are infringing my patent as well. And so you can do either one of those things, and that is something that I think is really important.
Now, Hope, my final question here. We have a lot of entrepreneurs on the show. We've had Wolfgang Puck on and John Maxwell and just really big name people. And it seems like all of them have an idiosyncrasy, kind of like a superpower, something that they do that allows them to have a lot more success than the average person, or that's allowed them, maybe a daily habit that they have. What is your sort of superpower that's allowed you to have so much success in your career thus far?
So, okay, I apologize.
Oh, no problem. I by the way, for the listeners out there, it's not my normal style, but to mess with Hope, I've been calling her during the show too. So don't get that. Don't worry about that.
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. I'm sorry I'm calling you.
The call.
It's okay. I enjoy calling my guests.
So that's a really good question. I think that I thought about this question for a little while, and so I think I probably have two idiosyncrasies. One is that I tend to be very organized, and so I like to control the agenda of different meetings. I like to make sure that I have what I need to get done organized in the list, and so I tend to be very organized. The other thing is that I tend to be a go-getter, and I am very tenacious, and so if there's a goal or something that I want to achieve, I tend to go after it and make sure it gets done.
Do you color code your clothing in your closet? Do you put it in where it's color coded and it goes from like blues to reds, or do you have like how detailed do you take this organization system?
My closet is color coded.
Love
but it is loosely color coded, so it's not in a specific order. Like my shirts don't go in a specific color order, and my pants don't go in a specific color order, but they are grouped in colors.
Do you have a meal calendar for your family?
I do not.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, we do have a nanny. So our nanny actually prepares dinner for our family. So that is partially why I don't have a meal calendar.
And this is not a backhanded compliment, but I want you to know this. I think a lot of times when you work for the government, people are going, oh, frick, the government. You're going to have a government guest on the show. They're going to be low energy, and they're going to be just slogging around. You have such great energy, and you are just killing government employee stereotypes today. I love your energy. It's awesome. Is everybody at your patent office this fun, or are you the only fun one?
No, I think everyone here is a lot of fun. I do think that when I came into the government, I had a lot of stereotypes as well, but everyone here is super energetic. They work very long hours, and they put everything into it, and they are incredibly intelligent and bright people. So I love working with the people here at the USPTO.
Well, I appreciate you doing what you do to protect the ideas of the entrepreneurs who are out there listening. And if there's an entrepreneur out there that wants to file a patent, how do they get a hold of you guys? What's the step? What are the next steps?
So we have a lot of resources that are online. So if you go to uspto.gov, on our front page, there are a number of resources not only in our website, but also in their local area. So you are welcome to come to any of the regional offices to be able to get support. You can also go to our headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia, to get support. If you have other questions, we also have 1-800 numbers, and all of those numbers are online, our Inventor Assistance Center, as well as our Trademark Assistance Center. And for those entrepreneurs who can't afford an attorney at the end of the day, we do have pro bono programs in which volunteer attorneys can help them be able to file their patents, as well as partnerships with the various law schools around the country, so that law students can also work on the applications that are submitted into our office. So a number of different resources that are available online, or the other option is that if you can't afford an attorney, please call your local intellectual property attorney, and they can help you get started in the process as well.
Is pro bono in reference to your organization liking U2?
Wow.
I'm a big U2 fan, so I'm always trying to weave in references to Bono when possible, so... Okay, I'll try my jokes later. I need to really refine the delivery of that joke, but it's okay. It's okay. But thank you so much, Hope, for putting up with me. And hopefully you had a lot of fun, and hopefully you'll have some space ice cream, because I know it will take your life to the next level.
There you go. It might send me to the moon.
All right. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Clay.
Take care. Andrew, we have achieved my 5 goals for the day.
Oh, tell me about it.
I had 5 goals.
Let's hear them.
Goal number 1, I wanted to teach our audience about patents.
Done.
2, I wanted to resolve the myth. Not the myth, but the issue, the tension between Xerox and Apple fans.
The mouse.
People who love Xerox and love Apple. There's a lot of controversy there about Steve Jobs and stealing the mouse. So I wanted to resolve that. 3, I really want to get into space ice cream.
Yeah.
There's a ton of our listeners, none of which who've ever asked me to do a show about space ice cream, but I know there are many listeners that's what they want to know about is space ice cream, and Hope had it.
Yep.
4th, it's the whole didgeridoo debacle. I mean, so many of our listeners are saying, why can't we get more didgeridoo on the track?
Yeah, there we go. There's more didgeridoo.
And then I wanted to just throw out U2 references to try to weave in that whole pro bono thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work on my legal humor.
Okay.
And nobody got it. Nobody gets it, but I went for it.
Yeah, you did.
And that's why we do this show 9 days a week.
That's what?
We put out 9 shows a week, dude.
That's right.
9 shows a week. My name's Clay Clark. That's Andrew Bloomer. And we appreciate you for being a pro bono consumer of the Thrive Time Show on the daily. And we like to end each and every show with a boom because the boom stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And now without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom.